Last week, we talked about iPad OS 14 and how that beta was after a week of use. Well, today, let's do the same, except today, let's talk about how 2 weeks of the iOS 14 beta has been. And this is the perfect time to do this, as the public beta, I've been using the developers beta, the public version came out yesterday. There are an awful lot of new features, a lot of enhancements, and one very special edition that I've actually kind of been waiting forever for Apple to include. So how is the iOS beta after 2 weeks? Let's find out. It's a phone, I don't want to slam it down too hard. What's up everyone, I'm the Everyday Dad, and if I can figure it out, you can figure it out. When we did the iPad OS video last week, I had to preface that with a pretty big asterisk that you should definitely not download and install the early developer beta on any of your devices that is a single point of failure for you. And I maintain that position now. It's a little more complicated now that the public beta is out, but I think if you only have one phone, do not install the beta. Sure, all the features are cool and the beta so far has been pretty darn stable, but we have no idea what will happen in the next couple of releases. It could go from very stable to not so much. So if you only have one phone, you gotta keep yourself as safe as possible. For example, for me, I use an iPhone 11 as my daily driver, so I've installed iOS 14 on my iPhone SE2. Safety first. And okay, that boring dad caution out of the way. Everyday Dad, how dare you have boring dad warnings. Let's get into iOS 14. So there are some things that I am absolutely crazy about with this release. It's things that I've always really wanted my iPhone to do, which it now finally is capable of. Hooray. Now, as this is early beta, we're not near release for this yet, so I'm not gonna be overly negative or nitpicky about this because they're not selling it to you yet. It's that you have to go out and get this. They're not pushing this on you. So what I want to talk about today are features that I've really enjoyed using over the past couple of weeks and some things that I hope that we will continue to see in the future. First off, and the thing that's most noticeable that everybody's been talking about are the widgets. I think you can even see them from right here because they're just so big and noticeable. I really like the widgets. One of the biggest complaints that I think iOS has both on phones and iPads, is there's a lack of customization really on the home screen. You're kind of locked into that grid. These widgets allow for some neat customization and functionality on the main screen of your iPhone. And the best part, unlike the iPad OS and the restriction of its widgets to the small side that you may never actually have up, these can go anywhere. Like this is the front screen of my phone. Well, okay, they can go anywhere so long as they fit into that grid that we already talked about earlier. It's not chaos. We gotta have some kind of order, right? I continue to really like the widgets. It could just be the novelty of having a new shiny toy on my phone, and someday, legitimately someday, the magic could wear off. But again, it's been 2 weeks, and I still really like them, and I use them pretty much more than I use the single apps. What would my favorite widget be? I don't know, it's definitely different than on the iPad. Since there's less screen real estate, I do like the widgets that do more with less, and it's probably gonna be a boring pick, but I like the Smart Stack, since it's basically all of the important things that you could want in a widget combined into one thing that you can just scroll through. Like I like how easy it is to just have one widget that kind of does everything. But a new one that came out as I was writing this script, and it's an up and coming widget since the beta 2 came out, is the new Files Widget. And that's another big weakness of iOS as a whole, is the lack of a good coherent file system. So yes, this is a bigger issue for iPads than iPhones. I just like how quick and easy it is to now access the files inside of the phones. And I really hope that when beta 2 for iPadOS comes out, it will also have this new Files widgets, because seriously, any Files update has me excited, because each new update gets us closer and closer to that pinnacle nirvana of iOS and iPadOS operating as legitimate full-featured systems. And a widget's not gonna get you all the way there, but it shows that they're thinking about it. So definite thumbs up thus far in my experience with these little things. The big thing though is I'm kind of sick of saying widget, so we're gonna try to not say widget as much throughout the rest of the video. The next thing seems to be a bigger deal for others, but I'm not finding it all that useful. It's the app library. What this does is this feature takes all of your apps and it does neatly organize them into clearly defined categories. For example, utilities, references, reading, entertainment, stuff like that. So if you have an absolute ton of apps, I could see this being a much nicer way to find what you were looking for. And from a design perspective, it looks really nice and it has a very convenient search bar at the top of that library. But you just heard me say, I use the widgets more than I use the apps. There's only really 5 to 9 apps that I use on any consistent basis. So I have plenty of space on my home screen. Anyway, I'm gonna be able to fit what I need in that compact space. So it's not for me personally, but I do appreciate that it's there. And I do kind of wish that it would make its way over into iPad OS, as I could see the much greater need there for keeping your travel computer's functionality organized into those easily searchable buckets. And one of the new features with Beta 2 is you can now download apps directly to the app library, and they can be deleted directly from the library. Little things like that, so expect these little changes as the beta gets further and further underway, so that is a difference between Beta 1 and Beta 2. So here's my absolute, this is the one that I was talking about in the opening, here's my favorite new feature on iOS 14. As security becomes a bigger and bigger deal for all of our electronics, I personally like to know what my tech is doing at any given moment. You now have little dots that turn on showing when both your microphone or camera are being used, much like how you can get a light to turn on when your camera's being used on some laptops. I love this. I absolutely love this. I don't know why, but I'm paranoid about it. I always have a cover over my webcams on my computers. If I have a camera in my house that's gonna be like just fully exposed to like my family's living conditions, I always have it covered. And I like that now in iOS 14, you'll be able to see if an app is trying to be sneaky or underhanded in using that microphone or camera in the background. I've seen the Reddit posts for like camera hackers. That stuff legitimately freaks me out. Will this prevent all of it? No, absolutely not. But at least it'll give you some kind of notice. And another new cool addition to this beta is if you go into the control center, you can actually see what app was last to use your microphone or camera. So maybe they did it when you weren't looking at the camera, and then you go back later and you can look in the control panel, you can see that it did it. Okay, on to happier additions. Another big improvement, much like on iPad OS, are the new smaller call boxes. Nothing drives me more crazy than I'm working on an email or I'm typing a tweet or something only to have a phone call come in and just break everything up. It just swipes it away that you can't do any work on and totally breaks up my concentration. This new feature means that you get a small little notification at the top of the screen and you can accept it or decline it without interrupting yourself. This also works for FaceTime calls, which is awesome. I just really like features that make my phone less irritating to use, and not having a random person call totally take control away from my phone. That's something that I am 100% on board with. The next thing, which is actually kind of a big deal for iOS, is video picture-in-picture mode for certain apps. Now, this is something that Android has had for a very long time, and prior to me paying for YouTube Premium, it was a key reason that I kept a Samsung Galaxy S9, I think it was an S9. I kept that S9 around for long-distance car trips so that I could listen to YouTube, but also have my GPS maps up. It's just nice to have. I don't have to worry about that as much now because I have YouTube Premium and it will just play in the background. And unfortunately, speaking about YouTube, not all apps currently support picture-in-picture. The app developer has to actively turn on the capability in their specific app. Key to that, why I said that earlier, is YouTube does not support this yet. That sucks. Hopefully as we get close to actual iOS 14 release, they'll start. But I have seen that Twitch works. Twitch does work with the picture-in-picture. So if you like watching streaming, you can picture-in-picture that. Another cool thing about that box is you can drag it around the screen and you can really get it where you want to, or even out of your way. And with this new update, much like the newest update on the iPad, you get a lot more control and functionality out of your AirPods. And I didn't mention that in the iPad video, and I'm not gonna make like an AirPods video by itself, so it's here on iOS 14. But with these new 14 series systems, your AirPod Pros now have the capability to seamlessly transition between all of your devices. Yes, that's how it was supposed to previously work, but honestly, I find, because I use AirPods a lot of hours in the day, I still find that I have to manually switch over from my phone to my iPad to my Mac, but now it should seamlessly make the move. Plus, and here's another thing going back to widgets, hopefully that's the last time we're gonna say it, the battery widget shows the battery charge of every device paired to your iPhone, like the AirPods. I love this. I love this. It's such a pain in the butt to try to find out what my AirPods power level is. Yes, you are supposed to be able to just flip the case open next to your phone, but honestly, for both my AirPods and AirPods Pro, it only works like 50% of the time at best. Having a quick notification up at all times is easily one of the best things about iOS 14 just by itself. If you haven't noticed, I'm really big on little quality of life changes. I don't personally need gigantic new things all of the time because honestly, the phone already does everything that I want it to do, but these little quality of life things, Another cool thing that you can find both on iOS and iPadOS is a new feature that you can get inside of Safari called Website Privacy Report, letting you know which websites are trying to track you throughout your browsing time around on the internet. Like I said, privacy is a huge deal, especially with all these electronics controlling everything. You gotta know like who's doing what to your digital presence. Okay, yes, there are other things that have been released on iOS 14 like car keys, APFS encrypted drive support, and other things, but This is again my impressions of the things that I've used and liked over the last couple of weeks, and those I haven't really seen the need so much. I mean, I have a 2015 Nissan Frontier that barely has electronic locks on, and it definitely does not have enough tech inside of it to be started with my phone. Maybe, hopefully someday, but not today. The last cool feature I do want to touch on, honestly, it's probably not something that I'll use all that much right now, as I've been stuck working from home like everybody else for the past few months, but this thing is so cool even to just play around with it. It's the new translation function. It's insane. Like, it's actually crazy. You just open it up and it works. You can choose between typing in a sentence or just speaking into the phone, and it will auto-translate, then play that translated phrase out. That's just so cool. Obviously, I barely speak English. I don't speak a second language, so I can't verify its accuracy, but doing some double checking through Google Translation looks pretty darn close. And should make traveling around the globe so much more easier. You don't have to worry about, I don't speak the language. You have a translator coming with you. And it's like, darn it, I'm gonna gush a little bit. It's functionality like this, which does get me excited for these kind of advancements in our consumer technology, because it's so easy, but it's so powerful. I know that's a meme and makes me sound like a huge fanboy, which I am, but I think this is just darn cool, and it should make it easier for all of us, like humanity as a whole, to communicate together. And even if it's small, it goes a long way towards bringing us together. That's sappy, I know, but it's so cool. What are some of the things that you all have liked about iOS 14? Leave a comment below, because I'd love to be able to find out what everybody else thinks that has responsibly installed the operating system. I want to know how you have all gotten along with it, and find out maybe there's some cool things that I haven't seen, but you've discovered. Let me know in the comments below. And if you liked this video, oddly enough, I bet you'd like to see a video about iPadOS 14. Thankfully, I have a video about just that very thing that you can click right here and watch. Click, 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 click. Thanks for watching.